This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found on Gadget Geek, show number 482, recorded on March 4th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Dwayne, not so lucky. I mean, we got 1.5 feet of snow, but so did you guys. Just a few weeks ago. Has the state recovered? Is it still in a state of emergency? How are you guys doing out there?
Well, so get this. So I have a developer that works. Think of it like I'm kind of like the lead program manager at Microsoft for the space I'm in, and then I have a lead developer that helps me as part of our feature team. He lives in Austin, and so in Austin, Texas, of course. And so between the two of us, so compared to him, my life was easy.
Yeah.
But I did. We got 1.5 feet of snow. Things are fine. It's because unlike Texas, we get snow, so we have the right equipment. It just takes us longer than places that normally get snow to get all the roads done. It's not like Georgia, where I came from. 3 inches would shut you down for a week and a half. Here, it shut us down for about 3 days before they got the what I call the neighborhood roads where they were passable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, I have a Jeep 4x4 Wrangler Unlimited, so I could pretty much go out and have fun if I wanted to. So it wasn't so bad for me. My neighbors that are on up the hill and down the other hill, they definitely had some challenges.
Yeah. Well, our friends in Texas definitely were challenged. If they're a listener and you're in Texas, I'm sorry. And hopefully by now you are recovered and back at it. So hopefully things are getting back to normal. Dwayne, good to see you. Of course, we'll post a show with a few show notes. Dwayne's got a few that we'll pull over out at the AverageGuy.tv. Dwayne, I was thinking back to late 2018. We had you on the show talking about crypto. That kicked off that show. I think it was maybe October, November. That show kind of kicked off a crypto craze here on Home Gadget Geeks that has kind of lasted. We've gone from highs to lows. We haven't talked to you in a year, so we've seen the best crypto run up. I sure hope were you engaged in this run up of a sort? Was it good to you?
I'm checking right now, Jim, because you said that, and I was like, I need to open up some Coinbase.
Have you not looked in a while?
Oh, okay. Well, so yes and no. So of course, I heard the news that it was going skyrocketing again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the last time we talked, but because it's been a while.
2020. January 2020 is the last time we talked. It was at an all-time low then.
Yeah. So if you recall, matter of fact, I think if you go back to that, we talked about this, that I said that it gets cold in my office. And so what I decided I was doing back then is that I was running the miners to produce the heat to heat my office so that I didn't run a space heater.
Yeah.
Because what's the point running a space heater that doesn't do any, all that is costing you money. So I ended up running my miners, and I was making a decent amount of Bitcoin. I remember I had those racks. I had 2 of them, and they're upstairs. I actually thought about it when all this was going on. I had a friend of mine call me, and in the move, I got rid of my monitor that I was using for the mining rig. And so my only problem and why I didn't set it up and do this, because it was in my attic, and I actually have power in my attic where I could plug them, and it's freezing cold up there. So I was thinking I should hook them up and just let them run in my attic, because I wouldn't pay for cooling. So I thought about doing it. I didn't do it. But what I will say is that I was doing that back when we talked last. And so I generated a good amount of Bitcoin. And I never the only time I ever sold Bitcoin was when I bought the Tesla. and I used it to help pay for for part of the down payment. And so then I left it sitting, and I haven't touched it or looked at it other than I ran those miners and I went into like NiceHash and everything, and I made sure that the money was transferred into Coinbase. And so I would say, based upon my evaluation of looking at my phone and looking at my Coinbase account, it has been very nice to Dewain.
Isn't that a great surprise?
I did nothing, and it was nice. But the issue is that now if I were to do anything, I would have to file it on my taxes. But I just did my taxes, and that was fun.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit of a pain. It's a little bit of a pain for those that are doing it. Well, we've been encouraging folks, if you want to, because a lot of folks have been interested in this, right? Join us over on Coinbase. I'm sure you're using Coinbase. And if you head out to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase, and your first trade of $100 or more, you get 10, I get 10. It's not a bad way to do it. A little referral there if you want to try it out. I'm not a big fan of you. Like I want you to know what you're doing before you just go in there. There's been a lot of weird craziness in this trading market. I don't want you doing that. But if you want to jump in there and get to know some things and trade a little bit, you can even pick up some free crypto with some video training that's out there. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase and get that done. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. And Dewain, you're one of those. So thanks for doing that on Patreon. You can join us at theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. This week, Eric talked me into also putting the podcast on Supercast. So like if you're anti-Patreon for whatever reason, but you still want to support the channel, if you go to theaverageguy.tv/Supercast. So maybe you've been waiting for this moment. Like, I hate Patreon. I'll never do Patreon. Well, okay. We have Supercast for you. Theaverageguy.tv/Supercast. You can subscribe over there and get the audio download if you want to do it that way. I haven't put video out there yet. And if you want to do it that way, you can do it as well. Theaverageguy.tv/Supercast. Dewain, we are going to do I'll have to have you back. We're going to do a kind of a Tesla, or let's say EV roundtable show here coming up maybe in the next month or two, now that I've got the down payment. You really can't call it that, but the down payment on the truck. Okay, I got to start talking about it a little more often. So if I invited you back for a roundtable, would you show up for that?
Do I have beer?
Yes. So you'll be there. If others who are listening want to join us for that, if you have an EV or you have a Tesla and you want to join us, I know Ed said yes to that already. I've had a couple of you jump in, and I think Peter jumped in and said yes. Dewain says yes. We're going to put a little roundtable. We might even do a couple roundtables if we get enough folks to do that. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we will get you set up for that, and we'll figure out a time to get it done. And of course, appreciate your feedback on that as well. Dewain, it's been kind of fun to kind of talk Tesla over the last couple of weeks. I've been thinking about it. Last week on the show, or maybe after the show, I think I put the $100 down on the truck, getting ready. You've had great luck with your Tesla, so why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah, I mean the interest, like, there's a couple of things. The headlights I've had replaced 3 times because of the eyebrows that go out, but they've always come to my house and they take care of that, so that's not a problem. You have to bottle open it. my wife's bringing me a beer.
Oh, nice.
Because she's super sweet and super nice, and I had forgotten it, so I'm going to do a Modelo Negra.
I like it.
Because you brought up me coming on, and I said I had to have beer, and then it occurred to me I forgot to get something to drink.
Wow,
so she's super nice.
Is she getting an opener for you too?
Yes, she's. Oh, here, look,
man. Tell her I said
beer
thank
assistant.
You. Look at that. Tell her I said thank you. It's not often. Sarah used to do that for me, but now we've been married 32 years, and she's like, "Get your own damn beer." So,
well, that would be the normal if it wasn't for the fact that she knew I was on here with you guys. So all of you listeners and everyone, thank you for allowing me to actually ask my wife to get a beer, and she did it for me because she loves you guys too. So,
well, we before you, as you're getting that beer open, Jim Shoemaker says he doesn't have a Tesla, but might be good to include plug-in hybrid owners too, if you don't get enough. So, Jim, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we'll get you on the list if you want to come in. We just kind of want to talk the the gamut of them. So
and the funny thing is, I actually owned a Volt, so I can kind of speak to the Volt and plug-in hybrid thing and the difference between that and an electric. And I think a lot. So Jim, here's the thing I will tell you, and we talked about the gas thing a little bit. I think the other thing you should really think about is the fact of there's a couple of key points, and we can go into that more when you want to do that. One is the complete lack of having to do any maintenance, zero maintenance. I mean, I think I don't even think I've had to replace the windshield wipers. So there's that piece of it, and then the other side of it is the fact that you just you know how you have do you have an iPhone?
I do.
Okay, so do you know how an iPhone, you have an old iPhone and it just keeps getting updates, keeps doing that's a Tesla. So you don't actually feel like you have an old car, and they don't really change the look of it. I tell people that Porsche is really good at this. They don't change the look of a 911 drastically from year to year to year because of the fact that they don't want to make their old cars look old and less desirable. So it keeps their value up. I don't really think of Tesla as a good value play. I think it's more of along the lines of if you'll keep it, you'll see that you make your money in a different spot. It has a depreciation, a pretty high depreciation, but the result is there's less cost associated with once you own it.
All right.
But anyway, so that would be a great conversation.
Because I don't want you to give it all away. We want to have you back on the show so that we can talk a little bit about it. If you're interested in joining us for that, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Dewain, since we talked to you last, it was a year ago. It was January 18th, 2020. I can't the world has changed in the year and some change. How drastic. Give us a quick, and when I say quick in a Dewain Robinson way, give us a just quick update on you. Give us what's kept you busy over the last year. How's work? We know you got a big important job there at Microsoft. How's that going? You don't have to give us any details, but just how's it going? Give us a quick update.
Okay, since you and I have talked last, my office looks different because it's different. It's a different house.
New place.
I sold a house, bought a new house, had to completely renovate the house that I bought because I wanted the neighborhood. So ended up in a hotel for a month, caught COVID while I was in the hotel, then came back to the house.
So sorry.
Ended up with
my
electrical panel catching on fire. Had my entire pool stuff that was part of the pool, it just went completely out, and I had to replace that. My wife was like, "Oh my God, you got to get off that conference call because the water filter for the pool is just spraying all over the side of the house." And so it was just constant stuff with that going on. And then of course we've had the snow recently that this is destroying stuff for me. So in general, I would say that side of it has been crazy. And of course, to make it even worse, we decided we would go pick up a puppy right as soon as we did all this.
Why wouldn't you?
And why not? Let's continue the punishment. And then you kind of run into, from work side, it's been interesting because when I met with you guys before,
we talked a bunch of AI, that whole right. I think that whole show was a bunch of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I put something in our topics toward the end where in the bonus time that I can kind of give more of an update on that. But to give you an idea, the difference is, if you recall, at that time I was triple diamond medallion on Delta and to their 360 where they pick you up with a Porsche and take you from plane to plane, because I flew so much, to I have not been on a plane since February of last year at all. And so that all went down. Oh, and I had the company that I had that RV that I had bought. They determined it was a lemon, made me a new one, and gave me a brand new one that I had to go to Florida and get. so it's like so I've been dealing with lemons on RVs and everything, and then when on the work side, like I said, on the work, with it changing like this, I've actually become more engaged in product development and less engaged in having to go out to the customer sites and deal with things. So now I actually own a whole piece of a product at Microsoft, where before I was part of a product group, but I was more of an influencer into it. But now I actually am like a program manager that does own something where people will be using the stuff that I'm working on more so than just indirectly. I directly work on it. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just glad you made it.
I'm glad everybody made it. I'm glad.
No, I really am. It's been that kind of year, you know. If you want to go back to Dewain's previous episode, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG for Home Gadget Geeks. 431 will get you there. And I get that right.
Talk about
431.
Oh my God. We talked about the wireless mesh system that I put in my house when I got the Eros. I've actually moved to the Wi-Fi 6 version of that. That's crazy.
Well, and I think we talked a bunch of travel gadgets as well, but before the show before that, 424. So we had you on to talk this stuff. We ended up getting into all the stuff you were working on in 424. Spent the whole show talking about that. Then I had you back on 431 to kind of catch up on travel gadgets and some of those, you know, some of those kinds of things. What do you, Dewain, let me ask you this. I mean, when we think about travel, what do you miss? You're a guy who traveled a lot. What do you miss the most, and what do you don't miss the most about not traveling? Like, what can't you wait to get back to? And then what are some things you're like, oh man, it's been so great not having this? What are those two things for you that you think?
So I think, okay, so let's start with the things I miss. The things I miss are, I feel like I don't get anywhere near as much exercise because I was walking airports and walking miles and miles and miles every single week, including when I would get to customer sites or go to the office. It was just meeting after meeting all over campus. Like it was just a ton of moving around. And I feel like I'm stationary and I don't get to move around as much. And that's a bit of a problem for me. And then the other thing is I really miss getting, like, I really enjoy working with people. Like going out and meeting people and understanding kind of what their challenges are. And even my own team, I would much rather us go sit in a conference room, get a whiteboard, and work things through. And a lot of times, I actually think that would be more helpful to get things done. So it's much harder to keep a collaborative type of thing. Like the issue is a lot of people, when you're working from home, you think like, oh, well, I need to book a meeting, and in real work, you would just go grab a conference room and you'd be drawing on the whiteboard. You're actually working together, but now people associate a conference call to a meeting, and you really want it to be collaborative. You don't want it. And so now we're starting to see, especially inside of Microsoft, we're starting to see people understand that, hey, it's okay to hit the call button, talk to somebody and collaborate. And we do a lot of video. So I think the good part, though, are the fact that, you know, I'm able to go to all my kids' stuff. Like I can go to my daughter's cheer stuff and everything. Like scheduling this with you, it was like no big deal. Let's pick a day and
it was
and
nice.
I can just do it because you can recall, like you and I actually had one episode where I did it in the office in Redmond, and scheduling that can be difficult, and I don't have to worry. Like the only reason that I wore an Apple Watch, like this Apple Watch, which is a 2, right? I have no reason to upgrade to anything else because the only thing this thing did that I wanted was it would make sure that I knew what time it was in the time zone where I was so I wouldn't miss flights. That was literally the only reason I cared. So again, I think there's good and bad to it. What I will tell you is that since then, Microsoft passed a policy where anyone in a product group can live anywhere in the continental US. You do not have to even get really an approval. You just work it out with your manager. And so there's a lot of people moving into virtual offices, and I don't think we're going to go back to a lot of having to be in the office because we've been able to make it productive in this way.
Yeah.
The other thing is I don't anticipate my travel will go anywhere near to what it was before. In general, the world has figured out how to do conference calls and have become more accepting of it. But I can't say it has been a ride to see Teams and the evolution of Teams from the day we last talked to today is insane.
Yeah.
What all is in that thing.
And I think a year ago, if we would ask the audience who's using Teams, it would have been almost nobody, a few, whereas in the enterprise, we were just starting to adopt it at Gallup, where I work. And we'd had it in maybe a couple months before this all hit. To today, it's the word ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's and it's people are, and it's getting there. Microsoft continues to add more and more functionality to it. One of the differences I've seen, and Christian Johnson used to do this all the time. We would just open a call and we'd work together with the call open, but not really even saying anything. We'd be working on a project together. You could hear him clickety clack. You could hear me clickety clack. And then every once in a while he'd be like, "Oh, okay, can you do this for me?" And then we'd talk it through and I'd get it done or whatever. And then I'd say, "Okay, that's done. Let me commit it over here for you. Okay, it's ready." And it was really true what you're saying, true collaboration, which I think is really, really powerful when you have teams separated. I think you made a statement that made me think of this. We thought it was just moving meetings to online, where I think we haven't quite gotten to the point where, like you're saying, true collaboration has happened, where it's just okay to call somebody and work through problems in real time. I just did one of those this morning they wanted some website updates on some stuff and it was in WordPress and I know how to do that. So I was helping. We're on the phone for like 45 minutes. It was not a meeting. They were telling me what to do. I was committing it and say, "Okay, does this look right?"
Oh, yeah.
That's actually more effective this way than it was in person.
To give you an idea, I'll go for 2 to 3 days and not read email. Because if people want to talk to me, they don't email me. That's like a documentation thing, write a Word doc. No, God, no, please don't do that. Yeah. We jump on IMing and going back and forth, and it's like, "Hey, let me call you," and then, okay, and then boom, you're in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. I would tell you though, the danger and where we've seen a lot of problems is it makes it where people work more. Yeah. And they don't disengage. And so we're having to do things like one of the things we just did, and I think it was a wise decision from our leadership, is we incorporated times in the day that you're not allowed to schedule meetings. You're not allowed to schedule anything in our team on certain hours and days, because we need some time to focus. Focus time becomes a little harder to get now that you're just at someone's fingertips. And then the other thing is that I block out of the office time on my calendars, so people know, don't even try, because they will just do it, and because it's too easy. And so I think those type of things are a little difficult. You almost have to figure out what your limit and where you want to say no. And I feel like that's going to be a huge challenge, not tech wise, but just in general, for people to understand how to change.
Yeah, it's a human problem.
Yeah, right. Isn't that what they say? The most costly part of any solution is the human change management.
Right, the human interface that's associated with it. That's always the problem. And so, listen, I've had the best, most productive year of my career this year. Well, 2020. And it's bled over into 2021. I wouldn't take it back for anything. People are like, have said to me, what a crazy year. I wish we could forget about it. And I'm like, forget about it. It was the best year of my career. And not saying best in the terms of the human cost from the virus, not from the turmoil and the riots that existed, not from the sense of the turmoil that we had as a country here in the United States with our own government, but for me personally, and the things that I do from a career standpoint, it was a banner year. And so I look at these kinds of things. I struggle with you in the sense that I got to move around more. Like I'm not moving around. My watch is telling me all the time, like, dude, get out of the chair, like move around a little bit. Today has been a thin day. I worked right up until 2:00, and then I had to go pick up Sammy at Northwest. So drove up there 4 hours straight up, straight back, came in, sat down, had dinner with the family, which, by the way, we're doing dinner together 6 or 7 nights a week. That never happened before. Like,
I didn't think about that. We do too now.
Yeah, totally transformed dinner. Like, I am cooking way better than I used to. Well, I used to never cook, and now I'm cooking all the time, right? Because I was home. I'm like, I'll just start. My wife had to still go in, right? So I was like, well, I'll just get dinner started, and that turned into I'll just do dinner. I'll just and I really like it, right? So I think there's been some really positive for those. Listen, it's affected everybody different. We've had our healthcare workers. I think of Tony Rayner, who is out there going in, pulling ridiculous shifts for this kind of thing. So it's been crazy, but good to Dwayne, good to see you, and I'm glad you made that through through the whole thing, and that you're still upright in the midst of a fire and collapsed roof and a pool nearly exploding and COVID and all those other things that you've had to deal with.
And the puppy.
We're just glad. And the puppy. Yeah. The puppy is minor. Yeah.
This way.
That way. There you go.
Right there.
To all the things. Well, thanks for catching up with us. Let's dig into some tech. You've got catch us up. What are you using? You mentioned the watch, and I was a little surprised. You're still using a Gen 2 on the wrist there, Dwayne. I'm just surprised. You don't have to justify it.
I don't want to spend any money on it.
It
tells me what time it is in the right time zone.
No, right on. If that's all you needed to do. It's only been one time zone for the last year, which is pretty great. What are you using from a laptop or a main driver? What kind of gear are you using there in the office?
Yeah, so so in my new role and where I've been doing, I have to test things on multiple machine types. So to this side of me is a 16-inch MacBook Pro i9. So the new one that they fixed the keyboard craziness. And so, and sadly, the funny thing is that's the Microsoft provided asset. That can show you exactly how far Microsoft has changed since the days I started 16 years ago. Yeah. And then I have that connected to a docking station. And then I have one of those ultra wide Dell monitors that was originally on it. So if you ever see me shift in the video, like over here, that means I'm on Mac, but then I come back over here and I'm on PC, which is my main workstation. And I got tired of not having a way, like when I was traveling a lot, I like to do gaming. So what I decided is I was going to buy, and I think this was back around the time that we talked, I made an investment and I got a Razer Blade 15 Advanced, and with the 300 hertz refresh rate on the screen and an RTX 2070 Max and all that. And I upgraded it to 32 gigs of RAM and a 2 terabyte SSD. And so that one right there is as close as you can get to what I have these days, because mine, I was able to get the Mercury Silver, which looks kind of like a silver white color. So my keyboard's white. So I have that, and I have it connected to that Razer Core thing. So like if you're in the product section, you can look, and it's like this dock. It's basically a USB-C Thunderbolt connected graphics enclosure. So when I have it plugged in at my desk, it's connected over to that. So, and I have a GTX 1080 Super in there, so that I can basically upgrade the graphics card on my device and run off of that whenever I'm not. And then I bought a 49-inch ultra wide monitor that I use between the two, and this actually works out really well. I didn't plan this, but the computer screen on the laptop is a 1080p screen. If you're working from home and you have this ultra wide monitor and you want to share your screen with somebody to do a presentation, it's so nice to have a 1080p screen that you're not going to have resolution problems with people when you do presentations. So I just drag it over there and only share that monitor. And because if I shared this 49-inch to you guys, it would make it look like it's like a little needle.
Yeah. We talked about Teams earlier. It is one of the areas our version of Teams still continues to struggle, because I have a 40 something inch or 38 inch ultra wide. And when you split those among two and then you try to share just one of those, it's just really struggle. Zoom, of course, will do that no problem, but Teams, at least our version of it, still continues to struggle. So yeah, you're right. When you get those ultra wides, then you try and split them up, you try and share them. Because listen, I wish I had $1 for every time I said, let me just share my screen. Like, that has become such an effective way of working and collaborating, of just sharing screens. I remember, a couple of years ago, that seemed to be just something you did in a meeting when you were showing a presentation. Now I can't tell you, like, someone's struggling with something, I'm like, share your screen with me. Just turn it on right now. Right. Or let me show you. I'm just going to turn on my screen. And that's just it's not unusual anymore.
So it's funny because, so I told you I had that laptop. Well, my wife, her Surface laptop started having drive issues, and that her company gave her, and she works for a smaller company she's an SAP developer, and she was complaining she wanted faster, she wanted all this, and so she went out and she bought the one that is the Mercury color. It's got the OLED 4K screen, but it's the base model. And that thing is a steal of a computer because it's completely upgradable and everything. And the screen on that thing is insane. Now it's 60 hertz. So if you're a gamer, it's not for you, right? So you don't want to do that. However, that thing, like, she will power up she had 3 monitors and she went and kept a 1080p screen so that she could do the same thing. So I think there's going to be this trend of, I have to have a monitor in my array. If you have a home office like this, the ultra wides are really, like, I cannot express how important it is if you work from home. I know they're expensive. The one I have is this Agon one, and it is like 144 hertz, and they do advanced replacement if there's a pixel dead on it for 3 years and everything. It's not too expensive. It's like about $800 to $900, but I mean, we're talking, it's like, I can't even, it's about as wide as the TV behind me, but not that tall. And by doing that, you end up where I'm running the video in the center, and I've got chats over here, and I got notes over here, and then I got a thing where I can present over there. And so all of that is really super. If you're into home productivity and home offices and stuff, I really suggest that you think about that. Make sure you have a monitor that is easily shared. And if you've got a 4K monitor, sharing that with somebody who can't see that is really, it hurts your productivity. So I think this is going to be one of those situations where you do that. Now, you don't need a 49. I would just tell you these ultra wides are the way to go, though. My wife has one, I have one, and I don't think I could ever go back.
I think I have a 38, and it's great. At Dell, it was probably $700. I've got the same. Let's see if I can do this here. I've got a similar setup here. When it's the ultra wide is down here, and the 1080p monitor is up here.
Let's see if I can do this.
And
you can see how big this monitor is, and then there's the computer. So that's the Mercury one.
Yeah.
So yeah. So well,
you're right. I never thought about having that. Whoops. I never thought about having that 1080p monitor just as a sharing monitor, but I do it. I use it all the time. It's funny because I get wonky results on Teams off the widescreen. So the ultra wide. So I just move it up, it's right above it. I take the window, drag it up, and just share that one. And it works really well. I'm like you too. I have a laptop that drives we actually go through it's a Lenovo, and I have a Lenovo docking station that's got two HDMIs that come out the back that could drive more. It drives both of them for me, which is great. and it's super productive. I'm having a hard time. Like they're wanting us to come back into work, and I've got a little, at work. Well, this was my work monitor. I don't want to take it back yet because it's so helpful at home. So I go in and I use a laptop and a little, a 24-inch monitor at work, and I'm like, this is almost unworkable. I mean, I need
I know, it drives me nuts.
I need more real estate. I need bigger fonts,
I literally have to go find a second monitor whenever I go travel with my laptop at the office. So it's one of those things that I think it's just, once you get used to it, you can't go back. And once you get used to going with an ultra wide where you can go 50-50 and have stuff. And then when you go for the difference I saw when I went to 49 is I can go 3 things in a usable way. But the snapping pieces of that, I learned there's some Windows snap tricks that you can learn. If you want a fun one, boys and girls, here's you a little trick. If you end up with a big monitor or something that's wide and you want to do something other than snap left, snap right, or the corners or the top or the bottom or type of things, what you can do is if you take a window and you make it smaller, like the width that you want, and then you grab the top of the window and you drag the window all the way to the top of the screen, right? And when I say that, not the whole window, the sizing. Like when you have the 2 arrows, if you take the 2 arrows and you drag it straight up to the top, it will make it that width all the way down. And so it's an interesting little snap feature that you figure out, and it's a pretty good thing. So I think, from a PC perspective, that's kind of where I landed. And it's weird that I didn't buy another PC because I have that little, on the side business, I have a DJing thing that I do where I help out nonprofit organizations and schools and churches and things like this. And I run DJ equipment and things like this for them. And I get paid sometimes for it, but then I try to donate back if I can. The only time I ever really charge anything is going to be whenever I have a situation where I might need to get some equipment to help. So it's more of a thing to do that. So a lot of this stuff I can just write off, right? So when people are looking at all this tech and stuff that I work with, a lot of it I have to drive lasers and lighting equipment and music and things like that, as well as the work stuff. So it's kind of nice. Now I will say that this year with COVID, I can't do anything with it. So so I didn't do anything, but it's nice that I have a laptop that's so powerful that I know that it will last like several years, because I'm running that i7, but I'm not running that other i7, like the low voltage one. I'm running the one that's got like 8 cores and stuff on it. So I don't really lack for power. And I feel that has been a good decision for productivity and for gaming, which is kind of what we were going to talk about. The interesting thing is console, Jim. So console, I'm a little weird because I work for Microsoft. I have an Xbox One Series X. My son does. He's got one. And my wife and my daughter has the Series S. So we have both of those consoles. And then behind me, I don't know if you can kind of see the little white light right about there. That's actually the Scorpio edition, Project Scorpio edition series, the Xbox One X, not the Series X, but the X. And it died on me this year in the move. The hard drive went out. And so what I did is I went and I took it and I went online and I just went to YouTube. You can find it. There's 1,000 of YouTube videos on this. And what I did is I bought an SSD for it instead of a regular hard drive, and I reloaded the thing with an SSD. And I also have and because I added more storage, I basically put all my games on it, and I take that thing and I move it and with me. So whenever I'm going to go to, let's say we're going to go to a timeshare for a week, I'll take it so that my son can play. And I load up all the games on the thing, so it's loaded up. And I also take it and stick it in the RV. And you can sit outside my RV because the wireless controllers work through walls. Mm-hmm. So you can be sitting outside my RV with the TV while we're at a racetrack. And I was at Road Atlanta this year for Petit Le Mans in our RV, and I'm sitting driving the racetrack of Road Atlanta while the cars are going around and everybody's just laughing. They're like, this is hilarious, right? So being able to do that has been an interesting thing. I would say, is the Xbox upgrades worth the money? If you need a new Xbox, because you can still play all the games. They haven't really made a difference. The TV behind me can't do 4K, so I don't really care. The only one place I really care will be in my upstairs, but it does 4K, but it won't do high frame rate. And so if you don't really have the ability to do that, I think my recommendation would be go find a 1X. You could even find one that the drive's gone bad in. Pick that thing up, drop yourself in a 2 terabyte SSD. That's as big as you can go, by the way. And then basically to go through the process.
200 for that 2 terabyte, probably, right?
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't very expensive.
SSD. It's SATA. SATA connection, regular SSD.
Yeah, it's a regular SATA SSD.
How do you get the operating system back on there?
So there's a process where you can go download it, and then you have to go through a little process to make it go and recover it. Like if you've ever taken an Xbox, if you've ever went into recovery mode on one, it'll say that you can restore it from a thumb drive. And that's basically the way it does it. Okay. The BIOS on the thing boots it, and then you put the thumb drive in, and you can go download online the proper thing. It's just there's a few tricks that you have to put in to make sure that it knows how big the drive is. So there's like little tools to partition the drive. So if you're going to do it, you're going to need one of those little USB carriers that you can get on Amazon for like $5 or $10 to put the SSD in to get it formatted right and get everything ready. And then you'll have to have a USB drive.
Just a little USB dock, right? That the
SSD you don't have one.
They're $12 or $13. Yeah, you can. They're not very expensive.
Yeah, matter of fact, there's even somewhere you can just get a cable and it makes a USB. Probably. And it's nothing major.
It's good to have. It's always good to have one of those little docks, though, right? If you're going to be doing some of this stuff, I have used those. I've got I have a 4-bay dock, I have a 2-bay dock, and I have a 1-bay dock, and they just come in handy from time to time. You never know. So, you mentioned playing the Xbox. I moved ours to the living room so Sarah could use it for the Blu-ray. But I can stream it. I can fire up the Xbox app back here with the controller pointed this way. It's behind me, and it's in the other room behind me. And I can do things on it while it's streaming to here. It's super cool. Like, doesn't you don't have to have line of sight, doesn't you don't even need to be that close to it. It was weird the first time I brought it back here, and I could hear the navigation, that dang, dang, when you're navigating through. I could hear those on the TV behind me, but it was doing it right here. Some games, not that won't work for all games, but it was pretty cool to be able to play it or to manage it remotely.
Yeah, no, that's it's pretty crazy because the console stuff is kind of evolving anyway. And so I think we're going to see some very interesting aspects of it. I think the difference, really what you're seeing the difference becoming is like, how many frames per second do you want and how clear do you want? It's like playing PC gaming. And I actually like that it's going there because PC gaming, to me, I actually prefer it to console gaming. But I prefer it because I like to be able to invest in some hardware and get a better experience in the same game. But it doesn't mean that I want to prohibit somebody else from being able to play the game because they can't afford the nicer hardware, right? It just means that their resolution will be slightly less or their frames per second. And then there's games that don't matter for that. And, so it just depends. Like, I really like Civilization. It's like my wife hates Civilization because of the fact that it makes me go away for like 3 days to play one game. But the thing is, I like that, and I got into Tropico 6 lately, which is kind of fun if you haven't played that game. These are older games, but if you've got like a really cool graphics card and stuff, the graphics difference in it is so much. It makes an old game feel new, and I just think that's kind of cool. And I think that's where the Xboxes are sort of going. But you kind of have to have a TV to handle it. So if you don't have the right pairing, then I think you could probably save yourself a few bucks. The SSD did seem to improve performance and game loads as well.
Why wouldn't it? What was in there before? What'd you pull out?
Oh, it's a I think I have it right here. next to me in this drawer. I think it was this
why
drive.
wouldn't you?
So it's like a Seagate Momentous Thin drive.
Wow.
So that's funny that I can just be like, oh, I think it's right here.
Well, those small spinners are not very.
Yeah, it's 5,400 RPM drives, and
you'd get a lot of improvement.
Yeah. So, well, not only that, you also think about it, I'm putting in an RV now, and if it's bumping up and down, I don't have to worry about it. So I think in general, that was, it was kind of a cool experience. The fact that it broke and then I was able to fix it. But the thing that made it really neat was the fact that, that I kind of made the longevity of it better. And I felt like I sort of improved it. Now, I will tell you something that will freak you out, Jim. You want to go old school?
Yes.
You want to go old school?
Do it.
Home Gadget Geeks 354.
Okay. That was a while ago.
Make your notes, boys and girls. Home Gadget Geeks 354. Jim, when was Home Gadget Geeks 354? Can you find the date on that sucker?
Yeah, well, you keep talking and I'll find the date.
So what this episode is about is creating the Retro Pi. When I got a Raspberry Pi and I started making a gaming system out of that. Jim, do you know where that is?
That's May 5th, 2018 is where the date on that. And
this is how good Home Gadget Geeks is when I'm on, is that it pays dividends for years, because if I reach into this bag, I'm pretty sure that there is the Raspberry Pi. And you know why it's in my bag? Because when I go to the hotels, I throw my Xbox controller into my bag and I play Mike Tyson's Punch Out and Mario Brothers. And I took it to, we went to Florida in one of our timeshares this year, and my kids were all like playing Mario Brothers, and we were all laughing at how bad my kids are that can hit every single button for Call of Duty and Fortnite and everything, but they couldn't handle Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. And they were just getting so frustrated because they kept dying. And I'm like, see, these games actually do take some effort. So man, I'm telling you, that thing. Oh, if you can go back to that episode and see how I made that thing is awesome. It's just, and I still use it. And my wife and I sat for an entire day in Florida in a timeshare playing Mario Brothers and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And then I did also play some Tecmo Bowl. So it's just really good. Now, I do not support nor ask you to go and download illegal software of the game ROMs. You should buy them and own them. Thank you.
If you want to get that episode, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG354. We'll get you there back to May of 2018. Before the whole crypto, that's even before the crypto craze.
I know. Think about this. This is before crypto became a thing for you, Jim. That's how good paying attention to when I get to come in. Sometimes we find some good stuff.
I know.
But I've evolved now.
Right.
I've evolved into, I've decided, Jim, and I don't know why. Why did I decide in the time frame that I am not traveling to make the investments and figuring out mobile gaming better? I have no idea why this is the case, but here's the thing. I believe, this is just my belief, that you can believe what you want to believe, but I'm going to believe what I believe. I believe that this is the year, Jim. This is the year that we're going to be able to get out of our house.
I think so.
So I feel like I'm making an investment in the future. So just like episode 354, what I'm about to lay on you is the thing that will help you beyond in the years to come, Jim. And so what I've been really focused on is my son is super into, like, I don't know if I had told you about this, but my son, when COVID hit, one of the things I sat down is I said, I want my son, who's going to be stuck at the house and he can't do anything, I want him to take an interest in things that I like. So I told him, I'll pay for you to get a desktop if you will build a computer. And I will sit down with you. We will pick out the parts together. I'll let you make all the decisions. But you have to build it. And he agreed to do it, and he loves it. we can't get him to play with the Xbox Series X because he's too busy. Because you know what he did with his money over the summer? He decided that he came up to me. He goes, "Dad, I want a new monitor." I'm like, "Why do you want a new monitor?" He goes, "Because I need more FPS, Dad." And I was like, proud dad moment, right?
Nice.
And so he built him a computer, and he's got a full-on gaming rig with RGB and everything. And then he won a gaming desk for his birthday, and he's got the whole setup, and he loves to play computer games. And so I decided, I was like, well, I like gaming, he likes gaming, so maybe I should figure out some of this, especially like if I'm in the RV, how can we do this? And I don't really want to do the whole Xbox thing all the time because it's pain. So what I ended up doing is I got a hold. So I know a lot of people here are like Apple people, but Apple hates for you to do anything fun. So they won't allow game streaming.
That's not true, but it is kind of true. Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
So if you can kind of see here, if you got the video. If you don't have the video, I have this thing here, which is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 with the keyboard thing. And by the way, if you get the keyboard thing, it comes off and there's still the thing attached to the back, which holds the pen and also gives you like a surface type of thing. But this thing is actually just held on by magnets as well. But the thing is, and I'm hitting all kinds of buttons on it. What I've done is I got this thing because you can run Game Pass Ultimate on it. And with you doing that, you can basically turn this into an Xbox. And, you know, with me working at Microsoft, we got to play with it before everybody kind of got it and everything. So I knew it was coming, and you needed to be on Android and stuff like that. So I got this thing, and we've been playing Xbox on it through Game Pass, which is pretty awesome. And then all you really need to be able to do it is you need a Xbox controller. And when you do an Xbox controller, there is a secret to knowing whether or not it supports Bluetooth or not. It has a lot to do with the where the shiny parts are on it. So, and I think I covered that in one of the episodes. It probably was in the 345 one, or 354 one,
yep.
Where we kind of talked about this. So what you want is you want the Bluetooth edition of it, which if you buy any of the new ones, they're all Bluetooth capable. And then you just pair it up, and you've got yourself sort of like a portable gaming system that you can walk around with and play. And now they've even got the EA games on it, which is really nice. So my son will play Madden and all that type of stuff. I would say for shooters, depends on your connection. If you want to, if you're on Wi-Fi, you're not going to have any problems with it. If you're on an LTE connection, it'll work if you have a good signal. If you've got a good LTE signal, you won't have any issues with it. But you know, it'll just be that one time when you go in for the kill shot and you're like, oh. So think of it like I really like Ori and games and stuff like that on it. It's really, really awesome. And so the difference is, if you'll click on that see all plans there, Jim, I think one of the things a lot of people will ask about is the difference between like Ultimate and the others. And the big difference between it is that if you'll sign up for Ultimate, and my recommendation is, I think there's a way to do it where you can do it for a year. You'd have to look and see. But in general, what the difference is that you get the ability to have the games for your PC, and you get it where you can play it streaming, and you get it on the Xbox. So you get all of those mediums for all of the games. And so it's really, really nice, because you can, don't think of it like it replaces an Xbox. I think that was the mistake of Stadia, in my opinion. Is Stadia is like this whole, oh, we're going to replace everything, you don't even need a gaming console. I don't feel that you can handle the latency for, like, if you're really into shooters and stuff. But if you're on the road and you want to play and you don't want to deal with that, then you can install it on your PC and you can do it that way. Or if it's not offered on that, then you can stream it from the cloud. And if you're on a Wi-Fi connection, it's going to be pretty good. I mean, it's going to be like what you would get in Stadia, maybe a little better. So I think those type of things coming out and the whole move toward the cloud being able to extend it, I don't think you want to say that's my only way of doing it. But when you're out and about and you want to play a game, you want to play Madden, you want to play against other people, like, because the other thing is you can literally play against all of your buddies on Xbox Gold and everything. So it's kind of nice that you can do that. Now I will say that the other little hidden gem, so I bought it for that. That was the reason I bought it. And I had the S5e before, the Galaxy Tab S5e. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you one of the things I would recommend. That I'm going to talk a lot about Samsung stuff. Samsung does this thing that is sort of like Apple, but in my opinion, better. And let me explain what I mean by that. The Galaxy Tab S5e, they gave me almost as much as I paid for it to trade it in for this other device. So when I have, like, I put in the show notes how much these things cost. I'll give you an example when I get to the phone line, because I feel like that gives you an idea of how much they will give you if you will stay with them, because they're way more competitive than Apple is, for the most part. So, but what I got is I got that keyboard case on it, and I ended up with something I didn't expect, Jim. Have you ever heard of something called Dex?
No.
So Dex is this thing Samsung's done where you can make Android where it looks like Windows, and it has like overlaying window capability, and the apps can run, and it basically turns it into sort of a desktop. And so when you get, unlike an iPad, which I have an iPad Pro as well back here, the iPad, even if you get the keyboard, it still doesn't really have a touchpad or anything. And even if you do have that, it's like a mouse experience. It's not a real mouse experience. On Android, it's full on like a PC. And so when you put this keyboard on it, it had something. I don't know if you noticed that this keyboard cover has a trackpad. So you hit a key combination on this thing and it converts it into Dex mode, and you can actually feel like you're running a real full-on computer system. It's running Android apps, and you have the limitation of that. But in general, you can kind of make do with it being a computer-like device. I don't want to say it's a computer. It's better than an iPad Pro when it comes to productivity, because I can have floating windows and I can move them side by side. So I could have a chat app and my mail app open, and at the same time, and I'm seeing them, and I'm not doing this weird split screen thing. It's in Windows, and I could minimize it, and just like in a regular Windows or Macintosh operating system. So I think that was actually an unseen kind of cool thing I got. But I think that's kind of cool to do that. And that was where I started down this mobile thing. And I was like, hey, that's cool. Maybe I should go bigger. And so, of course, where did I go next, Jim? I was like, well, I gotta do it when I'm driving in the car. And we're on a road trip. And the kids are in the back of the Tesla, and I wanted to make it where, like, I could have a way to play like when I'm on the road. So I had tested this thing with LTE. I knew it would work, and I knew it would work pretty good. Maybe not for a shooter, but like I said, I like games that are a little less that way whenever I'm mobile. And my kids had, what do you call that? Switch. They had a Switch. And a Switch is cool. It's great. I don't really want to rebuy every game. And I don't know, maybe I'm being cheap, but I don't really think what I do is cheaper. So what I ended up deciding to do is I have this phone, that I keep. So for those that haven't kept up with me, I always keep an iPhone and an Android phone. And I always stay on the most popular one, which this is a Galaxy S25G, and this is a iPhone 11 Pro. My iPhone I upgrade once every 2 years. My Android phone I upgrade every year, and I'll explain why in a sec. But what I did is I took this thing when I had it, and I said, let's go for a mobile experience that would allow me to play games. And we started off with like pairing the Bluetooth controller to it and having like a little thing to hold it up. And that really doesn't scale. So then what we decided to do,
Dwayne, this is on the 21. This is on the S21 that you're doing this?
Yeah, it's on the, well, no, this is the S20.
20.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I ended up getting is something called, I started looking at, well, how can I do this and make it more like a Switch, if you must, because I like the idea of the Switch, but I just feel like it's wasted space in my bag. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up getting is this, which is called a Razer Kishi. And it actually won like a lot of awards in CES a few years, I think about a year ago. And it has these latches and it lets go in the back, and the back piece comes off and you can see it's stretchy, if that makes sense. And then inside of it has a USB-C connection. And the way that it works is you just take your phone, and I'm gonna put the Samsung phone in there. And now you have something that looks like a Switch. And it's powered through the USB-C. Now, some people will ask, well, what about charging it? And it does have a power output right back here. And so all of that is great. And you end up with the thumbsticks and everything, and you got rockers and all that. So it's actually really cool to do this. And the only issue I had with this is that the phone that I got the small version of the Samsung phone. And I was like, well, now that I'm doing this, it wouldn't be bad to have a bigger screen to do it. But I will say, if this is running that ladder case, if you know later or later case, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I run those because they are always thin. So pretty much I had this thing, and then my son, I decided that I wanted to check out for him, and yes, they make an iPhone version. The only difference is xCloud, or I guess it's not xCloud, it's Game Pass Ultimate, is not available on Apple devices because Apple won't allow it in their App Store. And
they're against fun, Dwayne. They are against fun.
They don't like me, and so that began the path of me saying, I think this year I'm probably going to move off of an Apple iPhone. And whatever, maybe they watch this, Jim, because they watch your show all the time.
Oh, totally.
And
I get calls from Tim Cook all the time, like, hey.
Well, the other problem was my son couldn't play Fortnite anymore. So he can't play Fortnite. You can't play Game Pass Ultimate. Sorry, they called it xCloud for so freaking long inside of Microsoft that it's tough for me. So anyway, what I would say is just be aware. I do believe that this is going to come to a resolution. I believe that there will be a way that we will work around this, and so will other game streaming services on the iPhone. I anticipate it'll probably be through the web over time. I think that's the current thought process I've heard of. But in general, just be, that's kind of the negative on an iPhone is that you can't do that. So now, what you see is my son wants my Android phone all the time. So what I did do is, because, and this is where I wanted to go with the whole Samsung thing. So this is I just got it. Matter of fact, Jim, we rescheduled, right, for this to arrive. And this is the Galaxy, let's see, what is it? The Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G. Their naming is horrible. Anyway, so this is the Mac Daddy phone, and I waited to get the special color, which is why Jim couldn't talk to me earlier. And Jim, you wouldn't have talked to me anyway earlier because with the snowstorm, it delayed this thing massively getting delivered. And when I went to go, like I said, I always upgrade my Android phone every year with Samsung. And I just want to give you context to the deal that Samsung was running when this phone came out. Okay, so this is the Galaxy S20, and this is the 21. This phone, which keep in mind I traded in the S10 to get this phone. I think I might have paid around $400 to trade to get this phone. Samsung gave me $700 on trade for this phone to trade to this phone. And if you wanted to get the other phone, like the lower end ones, they still give you $700. But the other thing to get you to take this phone over their lower end phones, they gave me $200 of additional stuff that I could buy, accessories from their store that you could go and buy. So in the end, they gave me $900 for a phone that I paid $400 for a year ago. And in return, I ended up with this thing, and which is, by the way, the higher end phone. So in the end, I think I paid about $550 for this thing. And the cameras on it, I'll just give you the cameras are insane on the thing. And with the $200 that they gave me to be able to get this thing, I had the ability to pick up some other things that I normally wouldn't even buy, to be honest with you. And that was these, which are the Pro headphones that basically are their competitors to the iPod Pros. They're not as good as iPod Pros, but they're for free. I'll take them any day. And so I have the black ones of those. And yes, when you open it up, it does all the crazy things like an iPod would. And then they also gave me this, which is a controller with a clip mechanism here. So if you don't like the Kishi, because it's more like it's more like the Nintendo Switch style. If you're more into, I want it to feel like a real Xbox controller, then this is what they basically would give this to you for free. And this is rechargeable in Bluetooth, and it has a clip mechanism that holds on. You can pull this off and use it as an Xbox controller if you want. But it has this little stretchy clip thing. Now, I've tested this, and I've tested the Kishi. I personally prefer using the Kishi because it takes up a little less room. But I believe, and I don't like this clipping thing. It seems like it'll hit the power button a lot. So is it a bad deal? I mean, the thing's $70 normally. And not only that, they also packaged it with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to come with it. So I got all of that with the phone, $700 in trade, and I got this, so that now when I take this and I put it into the Kishi, it will pretty much do it. Notice that it's not in a case. So the negative on this phone is that this phone has a massive camera bump. I don't know if I can make it be seen.
Hold on, let me zoom in on you.
Yeah, it's got a massive camera bump right here, which makes the phone really.
So does the iPhone 12. So does the iPhone 12.
But I don't think it goes all the way to the rim like this. And so
it's still pretty wonky here, Dwayne. I mean, I have a case that overcomes the bump.
Oh, but, yeah.
You know.
Well, the issue, it will fit into the Kishi, but you got to take it out of the case to be able to make it do it. And like I said, I'm running the thinnest case that I can get, which is this one, the case from Lulater. And so that's the only negative, but I will say that it runs insanely well. It's got Wi-Fi 6, and like I said earlier, I upgraded my home to Wi-Fi 6, which means that I can get the full gigabit speeds over wireless Wi-Fi to my internet connection, and it's really amazing. I mean, this is the most compelling thing I've ever seen to make me want to get off of an iPhone. And I will say that as long as you don't mind it being a big phone, like if you're a big phone person, take a look at it, because you can sideload your applications, you can get Fortnite, you can get all the Microsoft stuff on it, Even the Kishi even gives you a game launcher and everything. So I just feel like you can put a launcher on it that works with your controller and stuff. Like, you just don't get that kind of stuff on the Apple side. Will the Apple one work? Yes. If you play little shooters, you will be the best person playing shooters on your iPhone ever if you go get a Kishi, and people will be pissed at you. But again, I think that it's sort of like a really interesting thing as we start to play in that. So the last thing I did, Jim, that I wanted to bring up is that I got these and I was like, man, I don't know, am I really gonna, because you asked like what is in my bag, and the one thing is I travel so much, and when I was before that, I kind of think about like what's gonna go in my laptop bag and what's not gonna make the cut. And I've got so many things in my bag that it just gets really heavy. And what I've been running in the past, and matter of fact,
you ever lose something in your bag that, like,
yeah,
you forgot you even had it? You're going back through your bag and you're like, oh, I forgot I had these things.
So Jim, I've been so bad at this that I have put something in my bag. Matter of fact, I have it right here. The case for my Jabra headset.
Yeah.
That, you know, because it sits inside like this, right? And so I have literally lost the case inside my bag and had to buy another case. And then when I found it in my bag on a trip 2 months later and went, holy crap, I had to buy that stupid thing. Now I have two of them. so I'm literally like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that your bag gets to that level. So that's why I'm like, I'm kind of trying to control it a bit, which is why the Kishi might not make the cut. It might be that I end up with this in it because of the fact that I can use this to plug into the Raspberry Pi, because it's an Xbox controller with a USB connection. So what I was using, and if you go back to, I think it was like 431, I'm just going to double check this. I think in 431, yep, we talked about this. We talked about the Jabra Elite Active 65Ts. I had bought those. Now, since then, I picked up the 75Ts. And I know people are going to be like, well, why the heck did you do that? And it's because I'm an idiot and I don't want to carry more chargers than I have to. And these have USB-C, and the 65s had micro USB, and I got tired of carrying that thing around. So these open up and they've got the little view and everything. But they did something with these while I owned them, Jim, which was, I couldn't believe that they did this. They actually put out a firmware update that added active noise cancellation to them after they shipped them. I have and I'm not talking like a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I'm talking almost like 8 months later, I get a firmware update that added active noise cancellation to these things. And I was like, that's pretty crazy. And so I started going, well, can I compare these two and which ones are better? And here's the answer, boys and girls. If you get these for free, take them all day and run with them.
These are what? If you get what?
The Samsung Pros. These things, they're great. They have a feature in them that I really like, which is they'll. Have you ever been in an airport and you're wanting to talk to somebody and your earphones are on and you can't hear yourself and all that type of stuff? Those have a feature where if you start talking, it turns the volume down and turns on the ambient noise amplified so you can hear yourself through and hear the person who's talking to you. And then when you shut up for 10 seconds, which never happens for me, they turn back on, and they actually turn back on the noise cancellation and everything. And they do it completely seamlessly. You don't touch anything. That is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
They're almost worth putting in my bag just for the airport.
Right.
But these suckers,
which are
the Jabras.
Right.
Sorry. I know. We're on
Listen, McCabe just busted my chops a couple weeks ago that I don't do enough audio cues. So I'm just trying to adhere to the McCabe.
So the McCabe, you're killing me. So the Jabra 75Ts, these suckers, I'm telling you, I went through this whole thing because I started calling my friends and I was listening to music and I kept flipping on Spotify and I flip the same song on, and I have these Bose Quiet Comfort 35s, which is my go-to for like on an airplane.
Ones or twos.
I have the ones.
Me
The
too.
twos weren't out when I got them.
Yeah, me too.
And those are like my favorite that I've ever owned, right?
Mm-hmm.
These sound almost as good as the Bose. They are actually more bass responsive and high-end lively than you will ever believe. I cannot recommend these the Jabra 75Ts any more than you could possibly imagine. And I'm actually wanting to see what happens with the 85Ts that have come out. But those things for $149, you've got to be kidding me. And it will work on an iPhone, it will work on Android, and they work all the same. And they're made by Jabra, and they've got good software. Everything is great. They have graphic equalizer controls and everything. The buttons and all that work really, really great on them. They do phone calls pretty well because they're made by Jabra. But the thing, I don't like my ears to be plugged when I'm talking on the phone. So, but I will tell you that I started listening to them and I was like, will these things get out of my bag? Will I actually make a change? Because I wanted some good ones to be able to play the game, so you can get the good bass response when you go boom, boom, and stuff. So I thought that was pretty funny that I didn't even expect to go into that stuff, but what the result was to this whole gaming thing. So I would say that, if you're into it on the Android phone side, let's just say that you decide that you actually want to go mobile gaming. Don't go buy an expensive phone. I have taken a phone that I got in India made by a company called Vivo and tested using the Game Pass Ultimate on it. It doesn't use any of the compute on the phone. So you might as well, if you just want it for that, just throw it in. Like, if you're trying to go all in one and you don't want to carry something, I mean, you could just go buy that and that be your gaming system. You could probably get it for about the same price as you would pay for a Kishi if you got the Android version, which is $79.99. If you got that and you got one of these, go get a used 2-year-old Android phone that just make sure it's USB-C and be able to pop that thing in, and you would have yourself a mobile gaming system just like that, right? And if you're wanting to even keep it even cheaper, there is this new plan that Microsoft offered. I haven't really played with it, but it's basically if you want a new Xbox console, they will sell you an Xbox console plus the Game Pass Ultimate subscription for a monthly fee, and then after a certain amount of time, you don't have to continue the subscription.
2 years. I think it's 2 years.
I think it's 2 years.
$35, $40.
And if you're going to pay for Game Pass Ultimate anyway, you might as well just do that.
Yeah.
And so that way you have that. You've already got that. Ends up with a console. You get PC gaming. You get mobile gaming and everything. And you could do it for pretty cheap. I mean, you don't have to go have the best things. Now, if you're like me and you're a gadget person and you want to know what's the king of the Android phone world, it's this phone. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I really think it's this phone. But if you're not into that and you just want something to throw in your bag and play with it, because the other thing is it'll eat your battery when you're doing this. And when I say that, it'll eat your battery because your screen's on, and such. So just be aware that that's going on. One thing that I will bring up is that if you do go with the what was it called, Jim? I think they called this the Moga, the Power A Moga XP5. This actually has a battery pack in it, and you can see there's plugs in the back, so it can actually plug in with a cable to your phone and power your phone from the battery pack on the controller. So if you want to look at something like that, I think that's kind of a cool concept. And like I said, if you also want to carry around your Raspberry Pi, this will work with it, and you can use it on an Xbox if you'd like. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, there's all the cables for it right there. And they give you the short ones so that you can plug it right into your phone and everything. So it's like I said, it's not a bad option if you're okay with the clippy thing. And I think if people looking for a good way to do it, I mean, you're in it for next to nothing. And if you're doing like me with a Samsung, the thing was free basically and it came with 3 months. to try it out. So again, it really comes down to what you want. But I think there's a lot going on in this space. I think we will see this get even more compelling over time. There's some stuff that I can't talk about, but I will say that absolutely gaming has become a major business for Microsoft. And so betting in that space is a really good spot. And I think it's only going to be more and more value. It's just going to keep coming with more and more value. And I see that being the future of kind of how gaming is. It's not about, sure, you need to, you want to play on a console, you'll get the best experience on the console, but it's being able to bring that with you without having to bring that physical box with you like I'm doing with my RV. And, I feel like that's the thing. And Jim, when you get into a hotel room and you plug your phone in, think about this. You could take your phone and you carry an HDMI hookup for it. You plug that thing into your TV at the hotel and you have a Bluetooth controller like this, and you're sitting over here and you're playing Xbox on your stuff without having to worry about any of the other stuff. I mean, the reality is I'm doing this and it works, and it's pretty awesome if you start getting into the space. I think super innovative. Yeah. And I really think it's going to be awesome to see what happens there.
Take a breather for a second. Couple things on this along these lines. One is I think they're offering $1 for the first month, right? Xbox Game Ultimate Pass is $1. If you can't do $1, if you actually use and you sign in with your Microsoft account, you use Edge and Bing to search. They have some Bing games.
Good point.
They have a whole rewards program, and I've gamed this thing before. You can get a couple thousand points. Well, you can get more than that in a month pretty easily. So you need, I think now it's like 12,000 points, get you a free month. You can get that, get the kids involved, get the wife involved, have fun with this. And you can get 1 month or 3 months. It's a way to do it. It's kind of fun. Sarah is actually a trivia. She loves trivia. So I used to sit down in the evenings and we'd go through all the trivia. And I think you get, 10, 15, 25 points, whatever, just for going through their trivia stuff. And so we had fun with that for a while. So if you haven't gone to that, give it a try. Dewain, you'd probably be shocked. I'm actually, so you talked about some of your changes since I've seen you last. I'm actually doing this on a Mac Mini M1. So the PC,
really?
The PC's gone. Mac Mini M1. You got an M1 close to you somewhere? What are you showing me? Here, hold on. Let's zoom in. There you go. When did you get it? How long have you had it? And have you had any monitor problems?
I actually don't. So that's not why it's sitting there.
Okay.
That is not an M1.
Oh, okay.
That is a $300 eBay Express i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and a 500 gig SSD that I got for $300.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got it loaded. I don't care that it doesn't run the latest thing because there's a piece of software called AirMessage. If you haven't played with this, it gives you iMessage on your Android phone.
Oh, nice.
So that's why it sits there. It's the server for my iMessage because I'm sick and tired of when I switch that I have to worry about am I blue bubble or green bubble.
Well, it very similar. So you would not even recognize the studio at this point. It's got, I bought the 12 on the show on launch day. Then I got some M1 Envy, and I just wanted to have one, so I picked up one of those, and I've been enjoying it so far. It's not without its flaws.
Oh, you should get one of these.
What do I got there?
This is a Surface Duo.
Have you liked it? You use it very much?
So here's the crazy thing.
Hold it. Open it back up. Hold it back up to the screen for a second. Talk about it.
So here's what it looks like on that side, and then it looks like this on this side. So there's no outside cameras.
Still selling those things? Can you even buy one?
Yeah, you can get them. Yeah. I don't know what they're selling them for. I bought it from the employee store. But here's the thing. It's better than an iPad Pro for productivity scenarios. I would use it. The problem is the timing. The timing sucked for this because I got it right as soon as I couldn't travel.
Yeah.
And it would be perfect for a travel thing to replace my iPad because it's so small. I can throw it in my pocket when I'm getting on the plane and then watching movies on it and everything, setting it up like this, or setting it like a tent where you fold it like a tent, and everything. All of that stuff works great. Like, it really does. I mean, can it be your phone? It can be your phone, but it's not a phone, in the sense of a phone. And it is the weirdest thing because you have to own one to get it, and it's an expensive thing to just go get, right? I mean, it's not inexpensive. And I have the 256 one. What is the price point on it? So right now they're wanting $1,100 for it.
Bucks, yeah.
And is it worth $1,100? Tough one for me to answer. What I would say is, if I was on the plane and I was doing those international flights, man, that would be nice because it can sit at any angle. I can flip it around. I mean, it really is nice. People who think that you're going to watch stuff across the gap, no. The fact that I can hit a button and have my calendar and my email side by side, like, that really is a whole lot better than my iPad that only has my email on this big screen. So it really annoys me that the timing of the COVID stuff hit. And so I can't really answer the question because I can't take it somewhere on a business trip like I want. And I think at a conference, Jim, it would be insanely good because you could have your schedule up, and then you could be checking your email and just keep the schedule on one screen for the conference and stuff. And so it would be very helpful. And if you use LastPass, I know they're not a sponsor for you anymore because I asked you about this, and LastPass, darn you, come back. Anyway, so
I just bought their premium, by the way. I bought their premium. So
yeah, so did I. Great product, even if they aren't a sponsor any longer. But doing LastPass, you ever had that where you have an app and you got to open LastPass and you got to copy and paste get it from because the app's not intelligent enough to communicate
or whatever.
That thing is so nice because you have LastPass up and you go copy it and then drop it and then and so stuff like that is just really, I don't know. If we can travel again, Jim, I'll answer the question.
We'll travel again, Dwayne. We'll travel. We'll be out there again. Hey, we're gonna in the post, so if you can you hang out with me for a little bit on post? We'll catch up with a little bit of your work. So if you're listening to the live show, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, head over to Patreon and actually head over to our live page. That's the best way to do it. Just search The Average Guy TV on YouTube, and you can catch, like, if you're listening to the audio and you're only getting the recorded show, you can catch the post show. We're gonna do a little bit of bonus content with Dwayne, talk a little bit about what's going on, and then wait, I didn't see this until we were halfway through the show. I do want to talk about this little SpaceX incident from yesterday. So
we've got to talk about that.
Don't say anything. I want to save it for the end here. But Dwayne, always appreciate your insight on these things, and thanks for kind of catching us up. It's always fun. You've always got your hands in a ton of gadgets. Speaking of that, I just got my Sprint to T-Mobile conversion kit. So, they merged, and it looks like we're going to stay pink at this point. So I think we're picking up all the pink from T-Mobile. But they sent me, I've never seen this before. They sent me new SIM cards. So with instructions, hold on, let me see if this is look at how's this for a box experience. Oh, hold on, that one was taped. Let's do this one. I cut the tape. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? And so
for those on audio, Jim has a thing that looks like a credit card, and he's pulling it out, and it slides out the other side in like a common pattern that goes 3 wide. It's really cool.
It's kind of cool. Well, so over here is the SIM tool, right? Let's see if I get the things right. Over here on the left-hand side is the SIM tool. So that's what I use to get into the phone. And then over here's the new SIM.
They should make a wallet like this where you can put your ID like that.
I know, it's kind of cool.
Who are you? Boom.
Yeah. Here I am. So I got 2 of these, one for me and one for Samantha. And I guess I'll be upgrading. They're saying we'll get better network connectivity when we make the upgrade.
So Jim, I have to give us a plug for the next time, because you and I talked about this, and the next time I come on, we are going to talk in the real show, the full show. You and I have to talk about my new infatuation with kitchen gadgets.
Oh yeah.
So we need to talk. We need to do that because I have had some. I mean, I have some really cool stuff that I'm doing there. I really love where that's going.
Might have to do a whole kitchen show with you.
That's what I'm saying. No, we need to do this.
Yeah.
And I think there's you have another guest that's into this.
Oh yeah, we got a couple guests that are into this. So it's super good. Well, okay, hold that thought one second. Let me close things up for this part of the podcast, and then we'll do some bonus content. Don't forget, if you want to support us on Patreon or Supercast, I guess is what it is now. Head out. Well, not what that is. Head out to Patreon, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon if you want to join that. By the way, if you join us on Patreon, pay the $5. We have a $5 plan. I'll send you a little Home Gadget Geeks badge. And then you'll also get the full pre and post show in that feed. It's just a part of it, a simple way to get there and get that done. So if you want to join us over there, you don't have to, but if you want to, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you want to try us on Supercast, or you just want to check it out, go to theaverageguy.tv/Supercast. Kind of a Patreon alternative. So give it a try. If you want to join us in the Discord group, and Wieger's pretty active out there, a lot of conversations going on. In fact, a big conversation, Unraid 6.9 just dropped. We'll be talking about that next week when Wieger gets back. A lot of that conversation going on in the Discord group. Join us, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Still love to hear your message. So if you want to leave me a message, Jim Shoemaker left us a message last week or the week before. If you want to leave a message, anything, question, comment, whatever, head over to homegadgetgeeks.com, and there's a microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. Just click on it. You got 30 seconds. Leave us something funny, something serious. Leave us a question. We'd love to hear from you as well. If you want to send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter @Collison, and big thanks to Jay Madison, who's our guest last week. I see Joe out there. Tony Rayner always posts the show has gone live. If you want to join us out there, Jay Collison. And actually, Tony, you tweeted that I was thinking about buying a Tesla Model 3. Dwayne, you and I were talking about that earlier. And my boss just liked it. So there's that. I'm sure I'm going to get a conversation about, buying a Tesla, huh? So that's probably coming up as well. My boss sometimes watches the show.
Does it really drive itself, Jim?
Well, he's either he's got one or he's thinking about getting one. So we've got. I'm sure I'll have a conversation there about that. Then don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. You know that's Christian. Check out the plans. Start as little as $10 a month to get you up and running on, I think, some of the best hosting in the land. Check it out, maplegrovepartners.com. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Dwayne, I wish I had someone to bring me a beer because I could use one right now. We'll be back.
You're over there.
Yeah. Could you?
It's funny if it went actually through.
Hold on. We do this. We'll do. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We're back next Thursday with Wieger and some Unraid talk. With that, we'll say goodbye.